Hey guys, it's the 6th day of Christmas and I'm going to be doing a book to screen on The Book Thief, starring Sophie Nelisse, Geoffrey Rush, and Emily Watson. So a quick summary of what the book is about. It takes place in Nazi Germany in 1938 and pretty much goes all the way through the end of World War II. It opens up with Liesl who is going to live with her new adopted parents, Hans and Rosa Huberman. Throughout the course of her stay with her adopted parents, Liesl begins to steal books, and she begins to learn to read and write for the first time. Along the way, Liesl learns about the power of family, friendship, and words. You guys, if you have been watching my channel, you know that Markus Zusak's The Book Thief is my all-time favorite book. I mean, seriously, this book beats out Harry Potter for me, it beats out Jane Eyre, it beats out Great Expectations, it beats out so many of my top favorite books. And I think that says a lot about just this book. I read this book for the first time for my children's literature course in college, and I'm really glad that my professor assigned this book because God knows how long it would have taken me to actually pick up this book and read it. So I am quite thankful for my professor that she introduced me to this book and that it is my #1 favorite book ever. Before I get into the review of the movie, this first little bit of the review will be non-spoilery, and then I will warn in advance when the spoilery parts are up. So I'm just gonna get going. I really think The Book Thief was fantastic. It was over 2 hours long. I'm not quite sure on the total length. It wasn't like 2.5, but I think it might have been pretty close to 2.5. I think it was visually stunning, and just the directing was beautiful, and everything about just the visual aspect of the movie and the casting and the directorial choices, just everything was so perfect and well put together, I think. And I think it really brought the tone of what you feel in the book. Now, of course, every little thing was not in the book. This book is over 500 pages, so of course there's lots of stuff taken out. And I think the stuff that was taken out made sense, and it wasn't stuff that I was like, oh no, it's not in there. For instance, the character of Frau Holzapfel, she is totally absent in the movie. And I think it made sense that she wasn't in the movie. Her whole plot was very much a subplot to the story, and her whole relationship with Liesl. But overall, the majority of the book is in the movie. Pretty much all the major important things that need to be there in order to convey the whole message of the movie. I think the casting was excellent. Sophie Nelisse as, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, I believe she's a French girl, she's actually not German. Sophie Nelisse was perfect as Liesl, I think. She really just inhabited Liesl, I think. And she was one hell of a good actress. I was incredibly worried that she would be terrible because most children actors are not that particularly good. So I was extremely impressed by Sophie Nelisse. Her big eyes, you guys, I can't remember if they were blue or green, but her eyes, oh my goodness, her eyes, those really emotional scenes. She conveyed so much just through her eyes alone. Geoffrey Rush and Emily Watson as the Hubermans, they were fantastic. I think they played so well off of each other, and I think they were those characters. Geoffrey Rush as Hans, I think he really got his warmth and his relationship with Liesl just so correct. And then Emily Watson as Rosa, she was so great. I think they had her whole personality in there pretty perfectly. Her bluntness and her yelling at everybody. The little boy doing Rudy was so adorable. I loved him. I think his name was Nico something. I can't remember. But he was so adorable. And he was a fantastic child actor as well. I was really impressed by him too, just as I was with Sophie Nelisse. And Sophie Nelisse and the little boy doing Rudy, they had such great chemistry with each other, which I think was vital to the whole movie. I think the aging of Liesl was particularly excellent in this movie. You know, she starts off as a very young child, and by the end of the book, I can't remember how old she is. Maybe she's about 16, I think, by the time the book ends. And I think in the movie it's kind of supposed to be about that too. So at the very beginning, you know, as when Liesl first meets Hans and Rosa, she has like this really short hairdo, and it looks very cutesy and childish on her. And over the course of the movie, she wears like these pigtails, and over the course of the movie, the pigtails kind of get longer and longer, and her hair, I think, ends up about my length by the end of the movie. So I think they really did that really well with Sophie Nelisse, kind of aging her. They didn't do so much with her makeup, but it was all kind of with her hair and kind of conveying her age in that way. And then, yeah, even by the end, you know, when Max meets up with Liesl in the shop, and like I said, I think she might be about 16 there, they gave Liesl this very mature hairstyle, kind of that would fit that time period, and would fit a 16-year-old girl. So Sophie Nelisse, she looked so much older and mature right there in that scene. So yeah, Liesl's hair was kind of the thing that they were going with age purposes. The boy doing Rudy, I don't think they did his aging very well at all, because he kind of just looked the same from start to finish. They did try to do a little something kind of with his clothing. He kind of started off with more childish clothing in the beginning, then kind of more mature clothing by the end. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't much they could do with the actor, with Rudy. But yeah, Sophie Nelisse, they did a fantastic job of aging her from a little girl to kind of a teenager. And then Max, you guys, Max. He is probably my favorite character in the whole book. You know, and the thing is, I love every single character in this book, but I would have to probably go with Max as being probably my top favorite. The actor doing him, he was brilliant, and I think he encompassed Max perfectly. Plus, he was good looking, and I really wanted a good looking actor for Max. Max and Liesl's relationship was fantastic. They had such great chemistry as well. The only thing about Max that they didn't have in the whole movie was his whole thing of being a Jewish fist fighter, and you know, all his stuff that he's always going on about, that he wants to fight Hitler. So they didn't have all of that plot with him. He was kind of just the Jewish character who kind of came into the story and bonded with these characters. So they didn't really develop him too much further out than that. But I do think he still had an incredible presence in the movie. Ilse Harmon was also in the movie. I don't think they gave her as big a presence as she has in the book, but she still was very much present. She wasn't as depressed as she was in the book, I don't think. She was kind of just there to kind of help with plot and give Liesl her next books. And I do think the actress in Mrs. Herman was fantastic. I don't know what else to say that's non-spoilery. I really kind of want to get into kind of some of these other details. But overall, this movie was really great. Like I said, the visuals were stunning, the casting was excellent and perfect, and just made me so happy. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go right into the spoilers right now. So the big question that everyone wants to know, was Death in this movie? Yes, he was. He was not physically shown, he was just given a voice. I believe the actor doing him is named Roger Allen, if I'm not mistaken. Death's lines, you guys, I think his lines were absolutely 100% taken from the book. It didn't open exactly, because the first thing that pops up is first the colors, then the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least how I try. I don't think that they didn't downright have that opening, but then it did go, I think it did directly open with this. Here is a small fact, you are going to die. And that was just a genius way to open the movie. That is how it needed to open. I am so glad it opened that way. I think it just really draws you into the movie just as much as that line draws you into the book. And then, of course, there are quite a few of Death's lines throughout kind of the middle of the book that are present. I can't remember every single one, but there are quite a few. And then of course it ends the exact same way, which I was happy, with the whole I am haunted by humans. And I think that about made me cry right there, because I was really hoping it would end with that line, because every time I've finished the book Thief, Death's line of I am haunted by humans really just, it takes me a little while to kind of close the book, because I kind of sit and think about those words, and I sit and cry. I'm still crying by the end. Death overall was not in the movie that much. He had his narration right at the beginning and the end, and then a couple little sporadic parts through the middle. He wasn't like every single scene like he is in the book, and I think that was a wise choice on the part of the writers. I think having Death constantly throughout the movie might have been a little weird and strange and kind of taken away from the overall story. So the amount that he is in there, I think, was perfect. One of the big changes in the movie is that Liesl decides to tell Rudy that she is hiding a Jew in her basement. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but I do not recall Liesl mentioning one word to Rudy that there's a guy named Max in her basement. In the movie, Rudy finds the little book that Max gave to Liesl, and it says like from Max in the book, and so Rudy's like, who's Max? And I love this line in the movie. I thought it was so adorable, because you know there's that flirtation between Liesl and Rudy, and Rudy's like, who's Max? And Liesl keeps going, he's nobody, he's nobody. You know, she's just trying to get away from the thing, and then Rudy so adorably goes, is he your boyfriend? I thought that was hilarious and a nice little addition, because I seriously do not remember any sort of scene like that. Some other minor differences was all of Liesl's various books. At the very beginning, when her brother dies, Liesl does get the Grave Digger's Handbook. Her next book, I think it was an H.G. Wells book in the movie, and I don't think she gets an H.G. Wells book in the book. One of the books that Liesl receives is a gift from Max called The Word Shaker. If you recall, The Word Shaker was about, it's kind of this parable about a little girl going up a tree, and there's words on the tree, and the Germans want to knock down the tree, and there's this big whole thing with it. And that was not in the movie at all, which I was a little upset about, because that book is very poignant to the whole Liesl and Max relationship, and just the whole theme of the book, which is the power of language and words. Like I said in the non-spoilery part of the review, pretty much everything about the book was in the movie. But there was one scene in particular that I was incredibly upset about. One of my favorite scenes in the entire book is one of the Jewish marches to the concentration camp. And when Liesl actually sees Max being marched to the camp. In the movie, there is a Jewish march to the camp, but Max is not in the scene whatsoever. Liesl's just kind of weaving through the crowd of men and screaming out Max's name. Whereas in the book, when the march is going by, they downright do see each other, and it's all very emotional and sad and moving. It just gives you all sorts of feels, you guys. And it's just so heartbreaking when Liesl is pulled away from Max and she's screaming, Max, Max, Max. It's so powerful and heart-wrenching. And so in the movie, they sort of have that same scene in a way, but Max is not in that scene whatsoever, which I was really incredibly upset about, because it's such a vital moment. The ending, you guys, the ending was pretty much exactly kind of how it is in the book. Everybody dies. Death is narrating the entire ending pretty much exactly to how he's narrating it in the book. Liesl is pulled out from all the rubble, and oh God, it's so horrible. Then she sees Rudy. Oh goodness, Rudy. She sees Rudy being carried out. A difference from the book, you know, in the book, when Rudy is pulled from the rubble, Rudy is dead. So when he's pulled out in the movie, he's actually still kind of alive. And Liesl is talking to him, and then Rudy, he goes, and then he dies. So he has like this final little couple words, and he's about to say "I love you" to Liesl, and oh goodness, that was so gut-wrenching, you guys. I don't know what's worse, the book version where he's just dead and it's a shock, or the movie version where he's looking up so pitifully at Liesl and he's about to say those words to her, and then he just, oh, I don't know what just works, you guys. If you have seen the movie, which is worse to you, the book or the movie version of Rudy's death? And then the feels just keep going, you guys, because then everything's kind of in slow motion after Rudy dies, and Liesl passes out, and it pans up, and you kind of see this wide shot of Liesl and Rudy just lying there, and all the rubble and the chaos. And then someone comes and they carry Liesl, and she's just unconscious in this man's arms, and it's so, oh goodness. And I forgot to mention too, it's so horrible too when Liesl discovers Rosa and Hans. That was so gut-wrenching as well. There's no other word besides gut-wrenching I can use, you guys. I think I've used it a million times already in this whole review. And I'm very glad the movie kind of ended and showed Max coming back at that at Alex Steiner's business. I'm really glad they had that in there, because, you know, I would have been disappointed in the movie, like, where's that Max guy? So I'm glad that Max and Liesl got reunited right there at the end, like they do in the book. And then the movie ends the exact same way as the book does. Death is narrating, talking about Liesl dying, and talking about the children she had, her husband, and then it, like, ends on a photo of Liesl, like young Liesl, which was a great ending. And for anyone curious, the movie is just as open-ended over the fact of whether or not Liesl and Max get married. Just like in the book, you have no idea if Max is actually Liesl's husband or not. And I was listening to an interview with Marcus Zuzak. He did a Goodreads interview a month or so ago, and people were asking him about that. Is Max Liesl's husband? And he was saying, is he or isn't he? And Marcus Zuzak was saying, I purposely left that open for the people who want to believe that and the people who don't want to. So the movie does the exact same thing, that you have no idea if they ever got together. I personally like to imagine that they did. So that is it for my review of the movie adaptation of The Book Thief. You guys, I loved it so much. It's definitely going to be something I'm going to get on DVD and watch a million zillion times so I can experience all the feels again. Because it's just nice to have a companion to the book and see all those characters and that environment envisioned in real life. So have any of you seen the movie? I know it has all sorts of weird release dates all over the entire world. So I have no idea what countries have seen it, what countries haven't, but if you've seen it, please let me know and share your feelings with me. And if you've not read the book, read the book. You will not be disappointed. So that's it, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.